Hey, Spitfire people, welcome back for another Spitfire Club on YouTube. Today we're going to be reading Greta and the Giants by Zoe Tucker and Zoe Persico. So today's book is about a real girl, Greta Thunberg, who is an activist for environmental justice. But are giants real? Are giants real? No. There's no such thing as giants. So it's not all based on true stories, but it is a great book for demonstrating a problem and how somebody can solve it who's just a kid. So we've been talking about change making as a way that someone can make the world a better place, right? And so some of the themes we've just explored are how our personal choices can make changes, our advocacy and our voice can make changes, the people we surround ourselves with and the people we get into good trouble with, as John Lewis would say, the late John Lewis, may he rest in peace, the team that we build can help us be more successful in change making too. So it's not just about identifying problems and then identifying solutions. It's also about sticking with it when it gets really hard, asking for help, learning from your mistakes, and not letting the mean words or the things that come up, because things are bound to go wrong. Things are bound to be hard. Nobody likes change, but sometimes change is exactly what we need. So, so stick to it. All right. First, how about we do a little demonstration? So, what is this? It's a balloon. Yep. It's got air in it. Yep. And then I've got another balloon. Hopefully it doesn't bust because I've been having that problem today. Yep, it bust. Let's try this one. I have a bursting balloon next to my foot right now. So here I have a balloon and it burst. The other one burst. So can you guess what's inside of it? It's water. So if we were to imagine that the Earth was a balloon, would the Earth be more filled with air or with water? Well, the Earth does have air, lots of it, right? I use some of it to fill this balloon up, but the Earth is also full of the ground, which has moisture and water. Our bodies, human bodies, are mostly water. The air that we breathe has a ton of water in it. That's, you know, humidity. I mean, clouds are water floating in the air. So a better representation of the Earth would be water. So we're going to talk about heat capacity and conduction of heat. I'm going to put my balloon down and cross my fingers that it does not break because I only have one more backup balloon available. So what is this? Do we play with these? It's a little bit broken. I'm not at my house and I'm not used to anything. It's a lighter. So we don't play with these because we don't want to set anything on fire, right? So do not do this at home without an adult, especially. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen when I put this flame on this balloon filled with air? I heard somebody say earlier today that the balloon would get bigger. Someone said earlier today that it would float like a hot air balloon up into space. Some people said it would blow up. What do you think is going to happen? Let's see what happens when air comes into contact with extreme heat. Ah! All right, if you said it was going to blow up, you were right. So what about the balloon filled with water? What do you think is going to happen there? It's still in one piece. Let's see. See if I can turn this fire thing back on again. It's very hard to do when your hand is wet. It's kind of hard to do when your hand is dry too. I'm going to try to dry my hand off. Sorry for the wait. What's going to happen? It's hard to see, but the flame is actually touching the balloon right now. Is it exploding? Huh. Weird. Why won't it explode when it's full of water? Oh, wow. Can I describe for you what's happening right now? The balloon is getting hot and the water inside seems to be heating up. Strange. Okay, so it doesn't blow up. You can see that there's a little discoloration. The color changes, but the balloon does not blow up when it comes into contact with heat. Why? Why? But it does get hot. That's an interesting change too. So water conducts heat better than air. It holds the heat and it builds heat. I imagine that if I let that fire stay on the balloon long enough, it probably would explode. But if we think about it like Earth, the more heat is trapped inside, it's not going to explode. It's just going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And so that's a kind of interesting way of thinking about or visualizing climate change. So what's climate change? Yeah, climate change is the Earth getting hotter. So climate changes are very normal in some ways. Climate change has always happened. I mean, we talk about things like the Ice Age. Remember the movies, The Ice Age or Ice Age? The climate change happens over time for normal reasons. But right now, what we are experiencing is accelerated climate change, which is, but most people agree, most scientists agree, caused by humans producing more carbon, and that carbon getting trapped in our atmosphere and trapping heat. And so we're getting hotter and hotter and hotter all the time. And so we're seeing less snow and we're seeing hotter summers and more severe storms. And so humans doing things like flying airplanes and farming cows and companies releasing lots and lots of carbon into the environment without any consequences. These kinds of things generate or kind of contribute to climate change. And so there are a lot of things that we could actually do to stop climate change or to at least slow it down so that what would naturally have happened can play out, but not at this rapid pace. And Greta Thunberg has a lot to teach us about how to do that. So I'm going to read Greta and the Giants. I think I have to move my chair though. You're a little bit far away for me to do this. The most awkward YouTube video Miss Amanda has ever made. Okay. Greta and the Giants. We don't own this book. We bought the book, but we don't own the rights to this book. And we're not making money off of this video. Okay. There was once a girl who lived at the heart of a beautiful forest. Her name was Greta. One morning, things weren't quite as they should be. Greta stepped out into her yard, and there, huddled together in the shadows of the trees, were all the animals of the forest. A soft, silvery brown wolf stepped forward, with his tail low to the ground. "Please help us," he whispered. "The forest is broken, and we don't know where to go. The giants are ruining our home." The giants had always been there for as long as Greta could remember, but now they were worse than ever. They were huge, lumbering oafs, and they were always busy. They chopped down trees to build homes, and then they chopped down more trees and built bigger homes. The houses grew into towns, and the towns grew into cities. They built factories and shops and cars and planes. They worked all day and all night until eventually there was hardly any forest left. But the greedy giants had forgotten how wonderful the forest was. They didn't see all the little birds and bugs and butterflies and bears that trembled in the shadows. And no one told them to stop because everyone was scared of them. What does that city look like? Yeah, it's kind of icky, isn't it? Everyone except Greta. "Will you help us?" asked the wolf. Greta looked around her. The animals looked tired and sad. She had to help them, but how? Then Greta had an idea. See your sign? It says stop. That morning, Greta went to the middle of the forest and waited for the giants to come. She stood alone, holding a big sign. The sign said, stop. She waited and waited. On the first day, the giants didn't see her and lumbered on by. And on the second and third, too. But on the fourth day, something strange happened. A little boy who had been watching Greta made a sign and came and sat down next to her. He didn't say much, but Greta knew he felt like she did. Soon, more people and animals saw what they were doing and joined in too. Look, it's like a protest. Before long, a huge crowd filled the forest. Stretching out to the city and the roads beyond, they stood together and waited. Uh-oh, looks like the giants are noticing. The crowd was so huge. And the giants were stopped in their tracks. Please stop, Greta cried. Your greedy behavior is spoiling our home. You've broken the trees and trampled the flowers, and now the bees and birds have flown away. These animals are homeless, and our forest is dying. After Greta had spoken, everything was silent. Okay, this is the part where I pause. How many of you have ever been told that you're doing something wrong? We all should have our hands up because almost all of us have been told that we're doing something wrong. And definitely all of us have definitely done something wrong, right? I know I do wrong stuff like kind of more than I would like to. Imagine the feeling that you get when someone tells you that you've done something wrong. How does it feel? It's not a good feeling, is it? It feels bad. I feel embarrassed when someone tells me that I've done something wrong, and I feel sad because I don't like to do the wrong thing. And I feel like sometimes I feel like something's wrong with me, that I made the choice to make something wrong. But I'm here to tell you that everybody does the wrong thing sometimes. Everybody. That's part of being human. And most of us are told we're doing the wrong thing sometimes. And it's not about you, and it's not about me as people. We are not bad. We are people who made a bad choice. And we can learn from the choice and make a different choice. And it's not a reflection of you as one bad choice does not make one bad person, right? We can grow, we can change. And so if somebody ever tells you you've done the wrong thing, you know that that's an opportunity to learn, not an opportunity to dislike yourself. You are wonderful. So did the giants know that they were making the wrong choice, that they were doing a bad thing? Yeah, I don't think they did. They were just so busy, right? They weren't paying attention. Okay, let's see what they do. But then everyone in the crowd began to shout, "The smoke from your fires is choking the air. And please stop cutting down the trees. You can help plant some new ones and mend my home. We need to take care of our forest and live together. Will you please try?" they all said. The giants shuffled and fidgeted and stomped their feet to the ground, on the ground. They were embarrassed and a little bit sad. You see, the giants were so busy building, they didn't see what they were doing to the forest or the animals who lived there. The giants felt terrible. "We're sorry," they said, and they promised to try harder. See, the giants feel the same way about making mistakes that we do. And so from that day on, the greedy giants weren't so greedy. They slowed down and learned to sit quietly. They stopped working all the time and instead took up new hobbies. They stopped chopping down trees and learned all about gardening and living in the forest. They cooked, repaired, tidied, and shared, and before long, the forest became more beautiful than they ever could have imagined. Look at that gorgeous forest. And that city that kind of looks a little bit like a forest. So we can make changes to do things better. Giants can make changes to do things better. All we have to do is know about it. But how did they learn that they were doing the wrong thing? Advocacy. Greta and her friends used their voice and their bodies and their signs to create a distraction, right? They had to be really big and really kind of loud, probably, so that the giants would stop what they were doing and notice. That protest made the change. And so these days we hear a lot about protests, don't we? Yeah, we are living in a time of massive protest. Protests because people believe that things could be better than they are right now. Do you think things could be better right now than they are? Yeah, we got a lot of room to grow. And so the next time you hear somebody say protests are bad, stop and think about Greta and her friends and the change that they were able to make with the giants just by using their voice and their presence. And you can do that too. Greta is she's a high schooler, and she was very young when she started her protests. And so much change has happened because of her using her voice. You've got a voice too, and a good brain. You could do good stuff. All right. That's all I got for you in Spitfire Land today. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.